efficient. They had a huge lead. The fact that LeBron James was on the floor until the last minute of the game is something that Frank Vogel and his coaches have got to continue to be concerned about, because you're just slowly wearing he and AD down. And AD, we know, is banged up a little bit. LeBron's banged up a little bit. This would have been a perfect night to start the new year off with a 25, 30-point win. All the Lakers had to do, the starters came out and did their job, but the bench. In 3 days, every team keeps them out adding somebody to trade deadline. But the Lakers are almost capped out. So what are they going to add? Because right now they better start looking within because their bench is not playing well, and that bench is loaded with veteran players. That's what's concerning.
I think to your point, Sam, having so many veteran players, Jared, which guy on that bench is willing to come in and really run the show when LeBron goes to the bench? You said it earlier. We know Rondo is Rondo, but he's not the Rondo that used to control games like he did when he's back in Boston. He's a little older now. So as they say, we need this guy or that guy. I think you have to figure out how can you get more out of what you have, because there's not much you can use to go get more.
3D, at some point, the guy that's handling the ball in today's pick and roll and space and play, the way the league is playing, if the guy with the ball in pick and roll is not aggressive and looking to score and to force the defense to react, it's just hard to score because everybody's just going to sit at home and play defense. What does Frank Vogel like to play pick and roll defense? With two guys. Well, if your point guard is not a scoring point guard that's going to put pressure on the defense, that's what everyone's going to try to do.
Doesn't help the cause that Alex Caruso left tonight's game with a calf injury. But, you know, it's interesting because you think back to the Cleveland days about how bad they were when LeBron wasn't on the court, and they still had two All-Stars in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. But you hear the point made all the time that because LeBron is such a genius on the court running the offense, such a good read and react guy like a quarterback, it leaves the other team, the rest of the guys, when he's not on the court, wondering what their offense is when they don't have him to be that brilliant genius.
Yeah, and that's why I say it again. You got to have someone else. We always say your backup point guard comes in, or at the next wave of guys come in, they play with a certain confidence. Like when he went to Miami, when he went to the bench, D-Wade and Bosh, they knew how to do that. Mike Millers, the Battiers. We don't see that in L.A. No. We don't see those quality guys. They have good veterans, but different kind to our conversation that doesn't fit when LeBron goes to the bench.
And just a quick note here, ESPN earlier today came out with a report that Darren Collison, who had retired after last season, could be interested in making a return, and the two teams he would like to go to, one of the two L.A. teams. He's a smart guy, right? Good weather, good basketball.
He's from L.A. area.
Well, to me, when you look at this, he would fit better. If you're looking at need, who needs him more, I would have to say Lakers. I mean, look, the Clippers have more than one ball handler. They got Patrick Beverly, they got Kawhi Leonard, they got Paul George. Okay,
Lou Williams.
They got guys. They got guys. The Lakers, they got guys who can handle the ball, but they don't have guys who can make plays for other guys. Rondo is a playmaker, but in today's NBA, it's not about coming down and bringing the ball up, setting guys up, hitting guys coming off down screens for shots. It's pick and roll offense. You got to be able to score in pick and roll, and the only way to do that, look, when LeBron James comes off a screen, teams those two things. He may not be looking to score, but he can score. And so you have to play him as a scorer, even though 50% of the time he's going to pass the ball.
And coming to town for the Lakers here on Friday, the hottest team in basketball. The Pelicans.
No, the Pelicans.
The Pelicans going to roll it.
Hey.
Playing better?
Just playing better, playing hard. Guys are making shots. I mean, Ingram's been solid all year long. He was banged up there for a minute, but he's been scoring.
Money bags, he get ready to get paid.
Yes, indeed.
And think about them coming back to Staples Center, right?
Oh, that's going to be all. That's going to be
they hung 140 on somebody the other night?
Yes. Yeah. They scored the ball now.
Devin Booker, 32 in the loss. Good to see Ayton playing better. He got off to a really slow start, missed his first 5 shots from the field, ended up Ayton 16 points, 14 rebounds. Playing 32 minutes. We'll see maybe if Monty Williams decides to put him in the starting lineup.
It's a matter of time before he's back in the starting lineup.
Right. Baines got the start. Baines just 4 points, 5 rebounds in 21 minutes, although played some good defense on LeBron late in the game.
Yeah, no, Baines knows his role, and to Sam's point, put the young fella back in the starting lineup, bring Baines off the bench, let Baines do what he does.
Right, so the 2-game winning streak for the Suns over Lakers. They have won 3 in a row following their 4-game losing streak. And again, they're back in action on Friday against the Pelicans. Much anticipated game for them. We're coming back with much more from this game, plus obviously our big story that is affecting the entire sports world. The passing of David Stern on New Year's Day at the age of 77. We'll have much more reaction pouring in from all over the globe next year on NBA TV.
Night you get drafted, it's an awesome feeling. That's my first opportunity to meet Commissioner Stern. And, words really can't put into context what he meant, not just to the NBA, but to the sports landscape. When I first got to the NBA in 1984, the average salary was only $200,000. I know that's a lot of money, but it was only $200,000. And now the average salary is $7.7 million. And it's because of Commissioner Stern. He was an innovator. He was a great businessman. And let me tell you something. I, who have screwed up many times, when you're in his office alone with him, it's probably one of the most uncomfortable things that could ever happen to you in your life. When you screwed up, he lets you know it. But always at the end, after he kicked you out of his office, he gave you a hug and says, "Son, you made a mistake. We're going to get past this." And I'll never forget that. And the last time I saw him was at the Hall of Fame. And every time I saw him, since he retired, I told him I cannot thank him enough for being a father figure to these guys. Because you talk to all the people at TNT and ESPN, when it came to screwing up, whether you were a player or an executive, he let you know about it. And we all are fortunate. We all have had great lives because of David Stern, who making all this money that players in my day made, and these players are making today. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Commissioner Stern. He was just an amazing man, and the world lost a legend today. And I hope these players, myself obviously, and all these players today realize that there was something happened before we came into the league, and he's responsible for all the money we're making today. When he started taking games, I'm just reading. I was watching some of your stuff earlier. I didn't know we were the first league to go out of the country and play international games. So, listen, words can't put into perspective we lost a legend today, and I thank him and his family for sharing him with us. And he's the greatest commissioner in sports history, plain and simple.
Chuck, we just had David Aldridge on, and he was talking about David Stern and how sometimes he would be in front of all the owners, and even though he worked for the owners, sometimes he'd have to chew into certain guys and let them know what it was. And when you have billion dollar owners and you have guys that are billionaires, you have billion-dollar egos. But what was so special about David Stern that he could stand in front of all these guys that made way more money than them and employed him, and he could tell them what to do, and everybody took it and fell in line? What was so special about Dave that made them say, "Hey, we got to follow this guy"?
Well, because I think he got it right, Brendan. I think he got it right. Because look at, I don't think the NBA, like I say, when I got there in '84, the average salary for everybody was $200,000. And like I say, now it's over $7 million. He didn't make any bad decisions. And, he always did what was best for the players and the owners. And I think that's the reason. And listen, he ran a tight ship. Like I say, when you got called into that office or he saw you somewhere, he did not screw around. He let you have it. Me and Ernie was talking about it when he first went in the hospital. We were telling stories, and TK, our producer down at Turner, was saying all the couple times they had gotten called to the carpet, and he did not play around. He let you know when you screwed up. And the thing about it, he always did it privately. I mean, that's the thing. We all got stories where he kicked our butt, but he always did it privately. And I think that's another thing that we admire about his leadership. It's easy to go crazy on people in public and try to, make yourself look bigger than you are. But when you can get on guys' butt privately and keep their dignity intact, that's part of being a great leader.
Charles, I've said this to you before. You've been the pioneer for all of us on television to be able to have these kind of jobs that we have in the NBA. You basically have been the Michael Jordan of the NBA broadcast team that Jordan was on the floor. So, but you as a broadcaster, you've had two distinct careers, one as an NBA player and then one as a broadcaster. and then you would have to turn around and critique and criticize the NBA, David Stern, Adam Silver, so forth and so on. Can you just talk to us a little bit about the two different jobs that you've had working in the league and how he responded to you differently? Because you and he became great friends.
Yeah, number one, thanks for the kind words, Isaiah. I love you like a brother, man. Thanks for the kind words. I've gotten that phone call I get it from players too now. I get it from players. I get it from coaches. I get it from agents. They always call it, and I'll explain what I said. And if you think I'm wrong, that's fine, but I'm going to explain to you why I said what I said. And Commissioner Stern has called me before and says, okay, Charles, I was watching last night. Where were you going with this? And I would explain to him. And I says, if you want me to do my job, I can't just say everything positive about the players and the league. The fans aren't that stupid. And they're watching the same thing we're watching. And he says, you know what? That's a fair criticism because, Isaiah, the hardest thing about our job. I don't go to work and say, I cannot wait to kill these players or coaches. It sucks to criticize players. But me and you and Brendan, Ernie, Kenny, we can't do our job if we just going to be like, like you ever watch those hometown games on League Pass? Like they can rip a guy's arm off and they'll still say it wasn't a foul. I mean, I do. Sometimes I'm watching all these league games, and these announcers, they're just such homers. And when I took this job, my mentor, Dick Ebersol, who was the greatest influence in my television career, he said to me, when he mentioned that I was going to go into he talked me into going into television. He says, you're going to be great on TV, but you're always going to be in trouble. And I said, what do you mean? He says, because you're always going to tell the truth. And he said, people don't really want to hear the truth. They want you to tell them that their favorite player is great, their team is great, and that's all they really care about. They don't want to hear that team is not very good, their favorite player is flawed. So Dick Ebersol, he gave me the blueprint when I went into this. And when I went into television, I sit down with Commissioner Stern, and I said, I'm going to get in trouble a lot on this thing. He said, Charles, everybody gets in trouble. Just try to be honest and don't, remember that you made mistakes as a player too. And then we reached a happy medium. And he said, and he always told me he loved the job I was doing on television. I just thank him. I said, no, I want to thank you for all the times that you helped me when I screwed up in the NBA. And listen, man, Isaiah, I just feel sadness for his family because this man, he made the NBA what it is today. We should all be thankful.
Chuck, you have a skill and an ability with people to describe them, to get along with them, to really get to know them. So you spoke about David Stern as the commissioner, but describe him more as a person in a sense. And when you weren't dealing with him in a professional setting, what was David Stern like as a person?
Well, he reminds me of Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. What I mean by that is, you've been around people. When they walk in the room, you're like, they instantly become the smartest person in the room. I've only said that about 3 people. When I'm around President Obama and when I was around President Clinton, like when they started talking, like they're smarter than everybody else in here. And anytime I had a private conversation with Commissioner Stern, I realized like, oh, he's the smartest guy in the room. And you know what's really ironic and sad? I had just gotten an invitation from him to come to this, big, I guess he was getting a bunch of rich people together. I think that's the only way to explain it. And they were going to just sit around and talk about money. And I had just gotten an email from him like a month ago, inviting me to this big business thing. It was going to be in Las Vegas. And I was like, yeah, I need to make that